Hello. Today I'd like to tell you about some changes we're making to the Stop and Think intervention and get your feedback. But first, let me tell you a bit about the Stop and Think game itself. Stop and Think is an inhibitory control training computer game presented in the form of a TV game show, created for children in years 3 and 5. The game is to be played by the entire class, led by a teacher at the front of the room, who can call upon children to provide answers. Each round of Stop and Think starts with the game show host character, Andy, presenting a science or math task to the classroom and reminding them to stop and think about their answer. The idea is that training children to stop and think in this way, before providing answers, in other words, exercising inhibitory control skills, will allow them to suppress their more intuitive but often incorrect ideas and recall the correct concept. In the active task mode, a stop and think icon pulsates for a few seconds in the corner of the screen to remind the classroom that they should stop and think before answering. Once the icon fades away, the task can then be completed. When incorrect answers are given, learning is scaffolded by other contesting characters in the game show, who articulate the reasoning behind their own answers to the classroom, though we are not told who has the correct idea up front. The content in Stop and Think spans the entire maths and science curriculum in either Year 3 or Year 5, but is compressed into 30 discrete sessions. Each of these 30 sessions comprises of a maths and science component, presented in a random order, that lasts a maximum of 6 minutes each and are composed of a heavily scaffolded exploratory task followed by up to five structured practice tasks to reinforce the stop and think skill within that particular topic. The results from a 10-week trial were very positive, showing that children gained, on average, an additional 1 month's progress in math and an additional 2 months' progress in science as compared to the lessons as usual group. Despite the positive results, we did also receive some constructive feedback from teachers, included that they desired an ability to choose the order of Stop and Think sessions in order to better align them with what they're teaching in class at the time, as well as to see what was upcoming in the future in order to feel better prepared. They also suggested that some children lost interest during the 10-week intervention, so to somehow include more motivating elements to enhance their engagement. So to tackle this feedback, we're designing a web-based teacher dashboard with a topic picker and reward system component to accompany Stop and Think, for which we'd like your feedback today. So upon logging into the dashboard, teachers can create a new class. They enter a class name and year group with the caveat that this name is visible to other schools using Stop and Think, so to choose an anonymous one if they don't want to be identified. Once their class is created, they can click the View button to see the topic picker and leaderboard components for that class. I'll first go over the topic picker. The instructions at the top read, drag and drop the topics into the order of your choosing. Your class will complete 3 sessions in both maths and science each week. If you are happy with the current default order shown below, leave as is. No action is required. Remember, it is okay if your class has not learned about the topics yet. The goal of the intervention is to train inhibitory control or stop and think skills. Use this as an opportunity to understand their naive beliefs and misconceptions prior to tackling the content later in the school year. Use the I buttons to see example problems from each session. So the point of this reminder above was to really emphasize that you'll never achieve complete alignment with topics because it's really an entire year's curriculum that's compressed into this 10-week intervention. So it's completely okay from the point of view of inhibitory control training, where stopping and thinking is just as relevant to things you don't know as to things you do know. So something to keep in mind for teachers. So to sort the topics, the teacher would simply drag and drop these rectangular topic cards into their desired order. And each topic card states how many sessions it's composed of. So for instance, this number and place values topic has 3 sessions. And by clicking the I button, the teacher can see examples for the topics. So in this topic, there are 3 sessions. So 3 visual examples will be given to the teacher to familiarize them with the content of each session within that particular topic. And clicking this table icon will pull up a plan that sorts the topics over 3 sessions per week over the 10 weeks. And this is intended to give the teacher a concrete understanding of exactly what they're covering each week of the intervention based on how they sorted the topic cards. Finally, clicking the Submit button will save the topics, save the ordering of their topics. Now let's fast forward to session 4 of those 30 sessions. The teacher logs back into the dashboard while they're in the midst of the intervention. The current session number is shown at the bottom of the screen, so you know where you are in terms of the intervention. And topics which are already completed are grayed out and locked in place, whereas topics that are currently being completed are highlighted in green, but also locked in place. However, all upcoming topics can still be moved around, which we hope gives the teacher flexibility to make changes. Next, we have the reward system components to the dashboard, which is intended to heighten classroom engagement and motivation to play, stop, and think consistently over the 10 weeks of the intervention. Specifically, we're integrating 2 features, a leaderboard and a stop and think avatar shop. So we came up with these ideas of these 2 components through talking with children aged 8 to 10 about what kinds of rewards they'd like to receive in Stop and Think, and what they'd like to be able to do with these rewards. And the general things were pretty consistent across children. They wanted to earn coins or tokens through playing Stop and Think. They wanted to be able to spend these coins on customizing characters or avatars. They wanted to compete with other classrooms and be able to see the top 10 classrooms on the leaderboard. They wanted to earn badges or trophies or other kinds of special items for achievements for playing Stop and Think. However, we want to make a very important note here and emphasize that it's not mandatory for classrooms to engage in either the leaderboard or the avatar shop on a session-by-session basis or even a weekly basis. We encourage teachers to use these features when it's suited to their schedule so that these do not take up more time than they're willing to give. And in fact, all of these features do not need to be used at all in order to complete the Stop and Think intervention, though we do believe that it will boost motivation through friendly competition and interclassroom goals. One idea that may save teachers time is to assign 2 children per week as monitors who can access these reward systems features on behalf of the classroom. So that's one alternative. So first, let's review that leaderboard component. Here's what you first see when you open the leaderboard. The class name is listed at the top, as well as a display of the total number of tokens ever earned by the classroom, either through completing achievements, which we'll see a little later below, or through completing Stop and Think tasks themselves. So currently, tokens are not awarded in Stop and Think, but we plan to integrate a very simple scoring mechanism that will reward tokens based on correct responses directly in the game. And then the idea is that you could go on the leaderboard whenever is convenient for the teacher to see how you're placing based on what you've collected. To the right of this area, there's a placeholder for a trophy, which will get filled in at the end of week 10 once the intervention is completed. Above this is the avatar, the classroom avatar image. and clicking on this will pull up the avatar selection screen. And in here, the classroom can choose images, backgrounds, and borders to create their own customized avatar to represent them on the classroom leaderboard. So here we can see that this classroom has selected the dolphin avatar image, but currently they don't have a background or border selected. They are notified that more avatar components can be unlocked in the Stop and Think avatar shop, which we'll look at a little later on. Hovering over other classrooms' avatar images on the leaderboard will show an enlarged view of their custom avatar. So it again kind of creates a little bit of interclassroom competition. And since our specific classroom is not ranked in the top 10 yet, based on total coins collected, we can scroll down to see our position in green relative to other 4 classrooms that are around us. Lower down, we see our classroom's personal achievements. So classrooms can earn weekly badges for playing 3 sessions of Stop and Think per week, every week for the 10 weeks of the intervention, which we hope will encourage adherence to the Stop and Think intervention by increasing motivation to play 3 times a week as prescribed. Earning at least 8 of these weekly badges will award a big prize of 500 tokens with the Weekly Warrior badge. And finally, time spent stopping and thinking within the Stop and Think game itself is tracked and summed to award thinking time badges, where these milestone prizes are intended to encourage children to slow down in class and take the time to think things through. Scrolling back up now, let's fast forward to the end of week 10. So we can see that our class has completed all 30 sessions and has placed first on the leaderboard, giving us the gold trophy. However, for those classrooms who didn't come in first, there is still a trophy reward for every scenario, including second place, third place, top 10, and very importantly, a good effort trophy for those who didn't place at all. We also see that by this time, our classroom has a much fancier avatar. So let's explore the avatar reward system mechanic in a bit more detail. The Stop and Think avatar shop allows classrooms to spend their hard-earned tokens. It displays the bank at the top, which is the amount of tokens that the classroom has left to spend, with a note that spending tokens do not affect the classroom's ranking on the leaderboard whatsoever. And below this, there are 3 distinct shop inventories. First is the avatar image inventory. Clicking on this opens it up, which shows rows of image sets, such as common critters, farm friends, marine mates, etc. And we see that our class owns 3 of these image sets, one of which has our dolphin selection. And there are still a few image sets left to purchase. The avatar backgrounds inventory contains the circular scenes or patterns that appear behind our main avatar image. Here we own 1 set and select the seaside scene to appear behind our dolphin. Finally, the avatar borders inventory contains images for the ring that goes around the background circle. So we only have 1 set of borders currently, and the idea is that these sets across inventories will get increasingly cool as they get more expensive. And so as you progress in the game, you get much cooler imagery to display on your avatar. So for this example, we'll select the water border. So now scrolling back up, we can see that our avatar image is updated with our new background and border selections. So to summarize, we've designed a web-based teacher dashboard to accompany the Stop and Think game with the following 3 components. We have a topic picker that will give teachers, which will allow teachers to choose the ordering of general topics presented through Stop and Think and to stay abreast of what's coming up in the future. We have a leaderboard that shows the classroom's total token earnings, the top 10 performing classrooms, and also your classroom's current standing to instill friendly inter-classroom competition, as well as achievement badges to motivate regular interaction with the Stop and Think software, as well as trophies for every classroom, regardless of their performance. And finally, we have a Stop and Think avatar shop as a bonus reward system where classrooms can redeem tokens for avatar components, allowing them to build the most epic custom avatars to represent their classroom on the leaderboard. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much for your time reviewing these new designs and invite you to give feedback through the SurveyMonkey link provided in the email on which this video was sent. Thanks again. Take care.